weekend starts now, because The View is live. BuzzFeed bombshell. The website's reporting that Trump directed his former fixer, Michael Cohen, to lie under oath. If this is true, could it be the beginning of the end for the president? Plus, is he the Democrats' best chance to win back the White House? Obama's former housing chief, Julian Castro, is live on The View to lay out his plan to take on Trump in 2020. And kick off your weekend with Feel Good Friday on View Your Deal. They're firing up Friday Hot Topics with Whoopi, Abby Huntsman, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, Meghan McCain, and Anna Navarro. Now, let's get things started.
Why are we so popular today? Because it's Friday. Is it because it's Friday?
It's been a long
We have a
week, it feels
weekend
like.
coming up. Yeah. Okay, well, the news is very hot today because BuzzFeed is reporting that two anonymous federal law enforcement officials told them that Trump directed Michael Cohen to lie to Congress under oath. The following? Not good. To lie about the Moscow Trump Tower project. Now, if this is true, and we don't know because it's anonymous sources, only BuzzFeed is reporting it, it would be the proof that Trump committed a felony and the clearest evidence of obstruction so far. Reportedly, there are also emails and texts that implicate Ivanka and Donald Jr. So, every news outlet is reporting it, even though it's BuzzFeed's story.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to say, and I'm going to say, it's not official because they don't know 100% yet. But isn't that usually what happens? Something like a BuzzFeed will report it, and then the rest pick it up? Then the Washington Post will pick it up, and then the others will delve into it further. Isn't that what happens in the news?
But is anyone confirming this one yet other than BuzzFeed?
No. ABC News hasn't verified
Right?
it. No.
And I feel like we're sitting here so many times being like, this is it. This is the smoking gun. This is actually going to catch him. I'm just not going to get worked up. I'm not going to let I have enough to worry about right now in my personal life until the Mueller
Don't you
report
worry
comes
your
out.
pretty little head over this.
Well, I do worry about the future of this country, and I worry that if this is true, that this happened, because there's nothing worse you can do as a politician than lie under oath. I mean, that is as bad as it gets.
Well,
That's pretty bad.
But this is
right?
this is directing someone else to lie to Congress, which I think is pretty significant, suborning perjury. But I will say this, and I agree. You know, we don't. ABC News hasn't verified it, and so we don't know necessarily if it's true. What struck me as interesting is Ivanka Trump's very carefully worded statement, which in my view wasn't necessarily a denial. She said, through one of her spokespeople, Ms. Trump did not know about this proposal until after a non-binding letter of intent had been signed, never talked to anyone outside the organization about the proposal, never visited the projected project site, and was only minimally involved. That said to me, so you were kind of involved, but only minimally. You didn't go to the site, but you knew about the site, and you found out about the proposal, but only after a letter of intent had been signed. So that kind of told me, well, then you just kind of confirmed that the BuzzFeed story is kind of accurate.
I don't understand any part of that response.
So that kind of blew my mind
But listen,
a little bit.
you know what we haven't seen this morning? We haven't seen President Loco tweeting a denial.
Yeah?
Right? I mean, he is the first one out there that says, no collusion. I did not work with Russia. I did not work for Russia. today he's been tweeting away, but he has not tweeted his 140-character absolute denial of this.
Yeah.
To me,
He will.
that's
He
telling.
will. Give it a few hours.
Well, he
It
hasn't.
doesn't take him that long.
Well, I will say that I agree that we're all in agreement on this, that it hasn't been confirmed by
Right.
ABC News nor
Right.
NPR, nor any other news outlet. They're all referencing BuzzFeed. And Anthony Cormier, who was the BuzzFeed reporter, he was actually on CNN this morning, and he said he did not personally see the evidence of the underlying report. You were asking, do sometimes lower-level outlets report things
Right.
first that get exposed? 100%.
Yeah.
But the things we're seeing right now is lower-level outlets with anonymous sources get a lot more attention as long as it's anti-Trump, and sometimes pro-Trump outlets that are writing things that maybe are calling out hypocrisy in other areas that maybe don't go with the media's narrative or the cultural narrative we want right now don't get as much attention. So I think any shiny object that's going to take out Trump, no matter where it's reported or not, and this could be true, we could come back on Monday and this could be 100% true, I don't know. But I will say I take everything with a real grain of salt until the Mueller report
But
comes
listen,
out.
this is what we had known, what we've known already. We knew already that Cohen had lied to Congress.
Right.
That's something that we've already known.
He pled guilty
He
to
pled
it.
guilty to that. We know he is testifying February 7th in front of Congress. We know Congress and those hearings are now going to be conducted by Democrats who are going to ask him about this. So we're going to know one of two things. Either BuzzFeed is going to have egg on their face, or we're going to know if the President of the United States committed a federal felony, and at that point we are in high crimes and misdemeanor, and we are in impeachment territory.
Right.
Well, and by the way, and I think we need to also add that if you look at the pleadings, we also know that the president is an unindicted co-conspirator because he is named individual one in federal litigation pleadings in the Manafort filings and also the Cohen filings.
But they
so
are
it's
not- I'm
not
not
like
a lawyer.
it's
I
not,
don't-
you
Yeah,
know,
right.
understand
I like
this.
precedent local
but-
so much better.
It's
Just to
is it
add-
an individual one.
To add
Individual
to,
local.
Could you know what? Can you do
To
me a
answer
favor
this-
for people that maybe aren't following this? Just put it in a soundbite. What's the most illegal thing about what we found out today?
Obstruction of justice,
but it's that
perjury,
Michael Cohen
suborning
was told to
perjury.
lie by
That
our
the
president.
president- yeah.
right.
Just
That's
keep
right.
it simple for
That
people.
and the fact that we
Thank
still.
you for clapping, man. See, not everyone's following this. It's very
No, but that is
complicated.
the.
I think a lot of people
Can I just
understood
say,
it.
as
Well,
the
there were some
older
women
person here, that is the
clapping.
exact way that Nixon was
I
kicked
know,
out
we
of
got to
office.
talk about Nixon every single day on this show. We should
Nixon's
show that the
parallel is
president's
incredible, and it
been-
gives you hope.
I'm not saying it's not possible. We're saying it's possible. I'm
By the
just
way,
saying
you
that
guys,
it's only-
go follow Merriam-Webster Dictionary on Twitter. They had the definition of suborn.
Of suborning
last night.
perjury.
Now, you know, one more thing. Yesterday's big story in the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal was that Trump directed Cohen to rig online polls in his favor.
That
Just
too.
like Manafort was also involved with rigging polls with the Russians.
It looks like,
I mean, if it quacks like a duck, this duck speaks Russian.
I know, and it looks like...
You were waiting for that one.
All right, we're going to take a break. Coming up, the next story is Trump seeking revenge on Nancy Pelosi. Oh, yeah. He better watch himself here. More hot topics when we come back.
Later, Trump's tit for tat? The president grounds Pelosi from flying to visit troops in Afghanistan. Is this revenge for her trying to stop his State of the Union address? Still ahead, Democratic presidential candidate Julian Castro gives his political view of his plan to take back the White House. And it's Feel Good Friday on View Your Deal.
Welcome back. So Trump is being accused of a little tit for tat with Nancy Pelosi because he just wrote a letter to her that he's canceling her trip to visit the troops in Afghanistan and that she can reschedule when the shutdown is over. Or she can fly commercial, he said, right? Okay. Is this just revenge, do you think, on Pelosi because she postponed the State of the Union? Is that what this is, or is there a real thing here?
Of course it's revenge. I mean, he's kind of President Petty. We know that.
And by the way, in the letter that Nancy sent him, it was a request. It was asking him to postpone it. She did not demand it, although I understand that as the Speaker of the House, she could.
Yes. Yeah.
By the way, she was leaving yesterday. It wasn't like this was a planned trip for Monday or something. I think the wheels were already ready to go.
After she was told you can't fly on Air Force One or whatever the official plane is, they said we'll go commercial. But then he leaked it, and then the security concerns became
And
apparent.
you see, to me, that's
He
a
cannot
really
keep his bazoo shut,
a
this
big
guy.
deal. You know, look. This is becoming War of the Roses. Any moment now, they're going to have to go to marital arbitration. 'Cause it's gotten real ugly.
Yeah.
That being said, I think there's a huge difference between, going on a vacation, going on a CODEL to, Paris, than going to visit the troops. And I don't like the way he talked about it in that letter. He said, I am going to reschedule this 7-day excursion and postponing this public relations event. Maybe that's the way he sees it. It took him 2 years to go visit the troops, which he did during the shutdown, during the Christmas break. I just don't think we should be referring to going to visit the troops who are serving
As
this
an
country
excursion.
as an excursion or public relations event.
I agree with you on that. And it is ironic that he went to visit the troops under the shutdown, too.
Right.
But I don't think anyone should be traveling anywhere. I don't care who you're visiting, because we've got federal workers here in this country that are servants that aren't getting paid. So until you can sit in your office and get your job done, they're both like school kids, like fighting against each other.
Someone said how to stop this shutdown? If all the TSA and all the air controllers and everybody associated with the airlines walked out.
Girl, this shutdown,
Then you'll see it stop.
This shutdown's going to stop because it is 75 degrees in Palm Beach right now. And you know how much golf this man is missing?
I know.
A lot, yeah.
Well, I was mentioning Gary Cohn yesterday, and his former economic advisor, who said he doesn't understand the strategy, and I didn't get to finish my thought. But the thought is, if you listen to The Economist, they are saying that this partial shutdown could cost at least $2 billion per week. And so as of now, it's gonna cost about $6 billion if you add all the benefits, which is more than the cost of the wall that he's asking for.
Yeah.
So that's why the White House strategy doesn't make sense to someone like Gary Cohn, who is the economic advisor.
Right.
So that is my question. I mean, if you're asking for the almost $6 billion for the wall, and the shutdown has now cost you almost $6 billion, and the ill will of the American people and your stats are plummeting, what is Trump thinking?
People keep saying $5-6 billion. It's really going to be like $20 to $30 billion at the end of the day.
Yes.
It's not an easy. It's not a cheap thing.
So what's the strategy?
And by the way, let's not forget that while he was canceling Nancy Pelosi going to visit the troops in Afghanistan, Melania was flying on an Air Force jet to Mar-a-Lago in Florida.
Was she wearing her jacket?
I don't know, but I think... I really don't care, do you?
I don't care. When we come back, find out Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is taking geezers in Congress to school on social media. So, newbie Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. 7 years of Spanish, okay? She is taking veteran House Democrats to social media school. Congressman Ted Lieu tweeted a photo from her training session with the caption, "The below pic is called a selfie." Very good, Ted. So do politicians need to be socially savvy, media savvy to be in Congress these days? What do you say?
I think absolutely.
They do?
Yes, I think absolutely. If you look at the stats, Twitter is the #1 platform for government leaders. According to the 2018 Diplomacy study, 187 governments and heads of state maintain an official presence on Twitter. And according to Pew Research, 71% of Twitter users are reading news there.
But if I had a
gotta be
choice,
there.
if you had a congressman or congresswoman that was good at Twitter or actually got stuff done, I would take the latter every single time.
How do you know if they get stuff done if you're not on Twitter?
One thing she has, well, hopefully we know because our lives are better for it, right? Hopefully actions speak louder
But
than
you don't
words
know
do.
who did it.
But some of her advice is actually
Well, they
pretty
passed
good.
legislation and their names on it. So
I would
that's a
hope
good
that we would know if
indication.
people are doing stuff.
Because
She
they
says,
sign bills. That's what happened.
she says, if you don't know what a
Schoolhouse
meme
Rock,
is,
guys.
don't post a meme. She says social media is not a press release. It's not a press conference. The best part about this, you guys remember the Zuckerberg hearings when the Senate was interviewing him or investigating Facebook?
Yeah, where he
This was
came
just
off
the
like
best.
an android.
Well, the senators didn't even understand what they were asking him about. This was one of my favorite moments, if we can play that.
Are you willing to go back and work on giving me a greater right to erase my data?
Senator, you can already delete any of the data that's there or delete all of your data.
Are you willing to work on expanding that?
Senator, I think we already do what you're referring to, but certainly we're always working on trying to make these controls easier.
But you see,
that is how sad it is.
but that's why I think government leaders.
Rough.
But that's why. That's why I think.
Joy said, "Does he have teeth?"
But that's why people need to I think that's why our leaders need to know how to use technology. I think you see that if you listen to some of the Supreme Court arguments, sometimes they have difficulty asking questions about technology.
When I was growing up, one of my favorite comments ever made was by Senator Ted Stevens, may he rest in peace, where he said, the internet is not a big truck. It's not something you can dump something on. It's a series of tubes. And it was lambasted by The Daily Show, and there's actually a song about it on YouTube. So this has been going on for a long time, that senators and Congress people are older and don't utilize technology in the same way. I will say, if you like what Ocasio-Cortez is doing with Twitter, I think she's just like Trump on Twitter. I think she doesn't care. She does whatever she wants, says whatever she wants, and it's two sides of the same coin. So if you're mad at Trump on Twitter, you got to be mad at her.
You know, you can be older and really be good at Twitter. John Dingell, right, his Twitter account is great. And then
Trump is old.
Yesterday, yeah, but I mean, I'm talking.
It's a very relative term.
Yeah, he's old by calendar years, but you know, he's a toddler when it comes to emotional maturity. But anyways,
I think he bullies people on Twitter. I think he's mean and nasty on Twitter. I think she's pretty effective in terms of sending out a message.
I don't know. Okay, so I want to read the exchange between three older guys, right? And this is Brian Schatz from Hawaii, the senator, Chris Murphy, and then Chuck Schumer gets into the game. Schatz, I'm trying to decide whether or not to retweet Cardi B video. Oh my God, I had the same argument with myself 30 minutes ago. Okay, so you do it. And then Chuck Schumer. Guys, I'm still holding my breath. Are you gonna retweet Cardi B or not?
That was so good.
At least they're poking
fun at each other.
These aren't as many likes as you need for something that I think is so good. I don't know. It's kind of thirsty.
Oh, I loved it.
It's like old people trying to be cool.
I
Sorry,
think
guys.
Trump should teach a Twitter
Okay,
class.
a lot of Democrats.
And I think Cardi B needs to give the State of the Union.
A lot of.
On that note,
I agree. We'll be right back. We'll be right back.
Next, he was the youngest member of Obama's cabinet. Is he ready to become the first Latino president of the United States? Secretary Julian Castro is live on The View to lay out his plan to take on Trump in 2020.
When my grandmother got here almost 100 years ago, I'm sure that she never could have imagined that just 2 generations later, one of her grandsons would be serving as a member of the United States Congress, and the other would be standing with you here today to say these words: I am a candidate for President of the United States of America.
Well, so those are the inspirational words of former HUD Secretary Julian Castro, who recently announced his candidacy for president. Please welcome Secretary Julian Castro. So, Mr. Secretary, I'll call you that. Although I call Jimmy Carter Jimmy.
Call me Julian.
I'll call you Julian, okay. So you have said yourself that you really don't see yourself as a front runner at the moment.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not.
But why?
Why,
How do you know?
why don't I see my...
How do you know? It's
well,
so
that's
early.
a good question. You know, I think that by any conventional measure right now, I'm not the front runner. But what I said on Saturday was, because I held that announcement event in the neighborhood that I grew up in the west side of San Antonio, I said that if you look around, nobody who grew up there grew up as a front runner. That I can't think of a single time in my life where I've been a front runner. And that today in our country, there are a whole bunch of people who don't feel like front runners. And that during this campaign, I'm going to go speak to them. And I think that that's going to resonate.
Is that
with
going to
the
make
American
you stand out among the crowd?
I think so. We're going to have a crowded primary, so we may have 15 or 20 people there, but I have a strong vision for the future of this country. I said on Saturday that what we need to aim for is to be the smartest, the healthiest, the fairest, and the most prosperous nation on earth. And I'm going to go and do the hard work of making my pitch. I was in Puerto Rico the day after my announcement because I wanted people to know that everybody should count in this country, our fellow Americans in Puerto Rico included.
Well, I know you're going to talk about Puerto Rico. Rico.
Thank you for doing that, for going to Puerto Rico. I know that it was your first campaign stop, and I was struck by that because my family is from there. Why did you go there? Because clearly the people from the island can't vote for you.
Well, you know, because I think today a lot of Americans, whether they're in the little neighborhood La Playita in San Juan, Puerto Rico, that I visited, that is still struggling, whether they're there or they're in small town Ohio and factory jobs have left over the last few years, a lot of people feel forgotten. People in urban Detroit, all over the place. And I wanted to send a strong message from the beginning that if I'm president, you matter and your family matters.
Let me ask you, why do you think Trump has such an antipathy towards Puerto Rico? What is his problem with Puerto Rico?
Because he failed. He failed the people of Puerto Rico, and he wants to obscure that failure by pushing back on it. He wants to make people, what he's trying to do is to make people think that somehow it was their fault, but it wasn't their fault.
But he didn't seem interested in helping them in the first place. So their failure, it was deliberate almost.
And he went further because, I don't know if it's true, but the #2 official at the Department of HUD, and that's the agency that you ran under President Obama, reportedly just resigned over his attempts to block federal relief money for Puerto Rico. He apparently said this: he did not want a single dollar going to the island. Federal relief money. Why?
I think part of that is the ego of the president. You know, why are 800,000 families going without a paycheck right now? Because of his ego about building this wall. And it is, here's the thing, is that I don't think that we've ever had a president that was so bad about being able to put the country first. He puts his ego first, whether it's with building the wall or not giving Puerto Rico any money. And that's why I think that in addition to investigating what happened at HUD, I hope they do that. I hope that the House and the Senate do that. We need a change in leadership, and that's why I'm running for president.
Right.
One of the largest criticisms of President Trump is his lack of experience, and you have no foreign policy experience whatsoever. You also said vehemently you were not going to run for president. I didn't understand when you announced why you didn't want to run for Senate or possibly for governor. You could have ran against Abbott in 2018, Cornyn in 2020. You're an up-and-coming rising Democratic star. The cynical side of me thinks maybe you're just doing this because it'll get you a lot of national attention. Why not start with the Senate and then move forward to presidency?
Well, I have a vision for the future of the country. And there are a lot of talented people that I think are going to run for senator or governor of Texas. But I have a vision for the future of the country. I think that the country needs new leadership. And I believe that I can win not only the Democratic primary, but the presidency.
Well, that's a good point. You don't just win the primary. In order to win, you've got to beat Trump first, right? And it does seem like it is a race to the left so far in this race among Democrats. You're for Medicare for all, tuition-free public college, universal access to pre-kindergarten education, a Green New Deal, something we've heard from other candidates that are running as well. I got to tell you, I spent a number of days in counties in 2016 that were Obama counties and Democratic counties that went Trump's direction because they liked his economic message. You got to win independents when you get the general, right? So how does that translate? If you run so far to the left, how are you going to actually win over those people that originally voted for Trump last time?
Yeah, but I mean,
I think they're scared of some of these policies.
Let's take some of those issues, for instance, whether it's Medicare for all or, you know, it's universal pre-K. There are a whole bunch of people in the working class and the middle class that would like for their child to be able to avail himself or herself of great pre-K education. There are a lot of people out there who don't have health care. You know, they get sick, they're worried about that because they're not going to be able to afford it. It doesn't matter what their politics are. They want health care. They want the ability to get good health care.
The people in Scranton told me, they said, I've been promised that so many times before, and it wasn't delivered, and that's why we're switching. That's why we're voting for something else this time. That was the message that I heard.
That's why we need universal health care, so that everybody can have it, no matter where you are. And I think that people agree with that.
You know, Julian, you and I have known each other for a long time. Look, you're not the front runner. You are the only Latino running, and so far, and I think it's important for, particularly at a time when Latinos feel so attacked, for little girls and little boys that look and sound like you and me, to see somebody can grow up to be a child of immigrant, a grandchild of immigrants, and run. So for that, I'm very happy that you are in the arena and got in the arena. But I want to ask you, you know, you saw the news today, and Joaquin and I ordinarily would not ask you to comment on something your brother said. but he's also your campaign manager.
My
right?
brother's been getting me in trouble my whole life. So,
Funny
that's
enough,
nothing new.
that's exactly what he says about you. Actually, these two brothers, they ain't done nothing that gets them in trouble. I keep telling them they're too nice for politics.
Who's the better looking one out of the two?
He says that I'm a minute uglier than he is. But it's not true.
Uglier, that's good.
It's
Well,
not
Joaquin
true.
said today, Joaquin, who is in Congress, said today that if the BuzzFeed report that we discussed earlier turns out to be true, Trump needs to resign or be impeached. How do you feel about
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. So there are two parts to that. If that is true, then he should be impeached immediately. However, right, and y'all talked about this a little while ago, we have a process of getting to whether this is true or not. Yeah. And the worst thing that we can do as a country in these critical moments is to throw away our important processes and how our institutions work. And so this Mueller report is going to come out, you know, probably in the next couple of months.
See it?
We're going to have a hearing. I hope so. I certainly hope so. The House Intelligence Committee is going to have a hearing, and you know that it's going to be a hearing that is, you know, thorough and has some, you know, bite to it, not like the ones that were held under Republican control, because Democrats now control this House Intelligence Committee. So I say, yes, if it's true, then he should be impeached. But let's not trip over ourselves, right? First, make sure that it's true. And that's going to happen in short order. It is going to happen in short order.
Okay, thanks so much for coming by. We really appreciate it. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Buena suerte.
Well, thanks again. Julian Castro. We'll be right back.
Monday, The View honors Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
If your New Year's resolution is to save money, would $5,000 help out? Yeah. Then listen up, because it's time to announce our New Year cash sweepstakes. One lucky home viewer is winning $5,000 next Wednesday. Go to our Facebook page to find out where you can enter for a chance to win by next Tuesday at midnight Eastern, and tune in Wednesday to see if you're the winner.
All righty. So, all right,
we do it too?
We have time for a hot topic, believe it or not. So, Anna.
Dime.
You're getting married very soon. March, I believe it's March.
43 days.
So here's a topic for you and for the rest of us. A panel of relationship experts raised some red flags to look out for with your fiancé. These are some of them. If he's too critical, if his ex-wife is still in the picture, duh. And if he puts you on a pedestal, that actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
But no, that has pitfalls, because once you're up there, just pull it down.
Oh.
Yeah, but what if you have kids? I mean, your ex-wife will be in the picture still. I hope they are, because you want to have, hopefully, a good family dynamic. So,
or maybe
some of these are-
ex-girlfriend. I feel like if your ex-girlfriend is still in the picture,
Yeah.
out.
I don't know.
They
I'll
got to
tell
be
ya.
dead to you.
If you're watching,
Right?
Yeah. Sonny and I always agree about that.
if you're
The
watching,
most jealous woman on TV.
No, if they see, if they have seen you naked, they're dead to you.
Right? Why are you so jealous? I mean, I've met Manny. He's a straight shooter. The guy's a doctor. He's always working.
He's
he
also
has no
obsessed
time to
with
fool
her,
around.
so-
He lives in fear of her. I mean, what is it with you and that?
I don't know.
You're not an insecure person.
No.
Not about your career, maybe about,
I'm just
women.
terribly jealous.
I will tell you, and then I'm gonna get all these
she's the
remarks
same
on
way.
Twitter
I am
saying
too. It's not
that not to stereotype. Latina women are very possessive of their men. I'm very just hands off my man.
But there are some real psychopaths out there. It's on my mind because Megan knows this. I've binge watched Dirty John, which I highly recommend you see, which is a true story. And I've also just finished You on Netflix, and they're both about these psychopathic men, and you don't see the signs because they're so good at what they do, and they're so charming, and they make you believe that you cannot live another day without them in your life. So I understand these poor women that fall in these traps, and sometimes you can't see the signs. It's very real. You're reading a book about it too.
My biggest problem really is I am marrying heterosexual Liberace. This man loves clothes.
Wait a second. That is what you call an oxymoron.
He loves clothes, and I'm not used to having to fight for closet space. You know?
I mean, he's a metrosexual.
He is addicted to clothes, and so he's got to, I need as much or more. I need more space in the closet. I need more shoes.
I respect a man that wears a fur coat like Liberace. I like that. I know a country singer who does that. We should bring it back. Men should wear fur coats. I like it.
Okay,
I do. I
we
have
have
fun
got to
with
go.
it.
There goes the